And welcome to the iGaming Next podcast. Today with Simon Lidzén, the co-founder and the CEO of Fast Track. How's it going, Simon?
It's great. Thank you. Thank you for taking me. It's really cool.
Yes, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here, actually. I mean, today, Simon, we are kind of going full circle in a way, because I remember it's like about 8.5 years ago or something like that. A young Simon Lidzén stepping into the Betsson office with a sharp leather briefcase into the poker team of Betsson, and we were actually colleagues back in the day.
Yes, exactly.
Good memories. Yeah, good memories. So today, 8.5 years later, we're going full circle.
It's really cool.
Yeah, and today actually we have an extra fun little feature in this podcast. And for those who are listening who can unfortunately not see this, but on the video screen here now we have a third window, and we're actually going to make an attempt to play some games today. Play some slot games actually, me and Simon, and it's for charity even. So we have basically, I think we have something like €144.20 because we had to do a little bit of testing before. But with this money, we're going to have a slot machine that is spinning in the background on a pretty small stake, basically. And towards the end of the podcast, whatever is left of this money, we're going to donate to a charity of Simon's choice. So Simon, do you want to talk a little bit first? What's the charity that you have chosen and what is it about?
I'm supporting something. It's actually an employee of ours whose wife is involved in something called Women for Women Malta. It's an international kind of organization, but they have an initiative going on here in Malta, and it's kind of helping women who are like having tough times, and especially now during the COVID. Thought that was a really nice thing. So if maybe they have need education or help with grocery shopping, or the single moms or something like that. So it's a really cool little charity.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a super fun little addition today. Let's try and see how it works here. So let's start it straight away here, basically. And again, for those who are listening, we're gonna follow up on this during the podcast to see how it's going, where we are with the money, and if we come into a bonus round, we'll maybe get some excitement out of it as well. So, exactly. Martin, our technical person who is sitting here, do you want to start the auto spin feature, please? And
so many memories, like sitting here and playing slots.
Yeah.
This is the way to enjoy casino, by the way, right? It's like the social aspect. That's like I would rarely play by myself, but I love kind of if you're having like a Friday spins or something like that going on, and this is like kind of similar in it. Like,
yeah, exactly. It's like back in the day when I mean, let's start just by reminiscing a little bit, because I remember back in the Betsson days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had some really fun days during those times when we were betting on everything. We had a bit of a crazy team at that time. Like, yeah, do you have like a favorite memory of like a betting memory from those days, from the Betsson days?
I don't know. I think like the ongoing Chinese poker that we had going on the team was quite special, I think. No, but it was, in all honesty, it was a bit out of order, I think. Like, but I mean, it was like a cool. It was a thing we had going on between us, didn't it? Like, so.
Yeah. I must say, from my end, I just remember this the Telef like marathon bet. He was gonna run the marathon, one of our colleagues, in under 4 hours, and he was not a runner. And the amount of bets that were going on, like internally in the teams around if he was gonna make it or not, that was just like the whole company gathered around this challenge. I love that. And then we had like Emil, our colleague. He had a bet how much candy he could eat in 24 hours. I mean, yeah, like you're saying,
a lot of stuff going on at the time.
We have grown up since then, I think.
It's a few years ago, eh?
yeah, a long time ago. Okay, so we are spinning here. The slot of choice is Gonzo's Quest, again, to kind of to pay homage to these days back in the days when it was when this slot machine had its peak, basically. Gonzo's Quest. We know it inside out, so it's impossible for us not to do well on this today.
No, exactly. That's what I was feeling as well when we picked the choice. It's just like,
yeah,
it's pretty much like there is a couple of games where you have like this like weird relationship to from the past, and Gonzo is definitely one of them.
Yes, it has a special place in our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Simon, like I mentioned before, it's really nice to have you here. In general, since those Betsson days, you obviously progressed from the poker team. You were head of mobile in the company, and then in 2016, you and two of your colleagues, I believe, you founded Fast Track, basically. To start this like digital transformation in gaming, as you call it. And when you hear this, like digital transformation in gaming, digitization is something that you hear a lot about during the COVID times. But traditionally, you mean more like, you move like your retail store, like if you sell clothes, you sell it online, for example. If you have a restaurant, you now sell it online, basically. But so then the question is like, what do you mean? Because iGaming is already a digital industry. So what do you mean when you say that you want to inspire this digital transformation in gaming?
I think like you need to step into how you're operating the business behind what you see, which is like the digital product that you're selling or the entertainment that you're selling. And I mean, you can go in different stages. I mean, we founded Fast Track. It was not necessarily doing exactly what we're doing now, because we pivoted the business in 2018 and started focusing solely on what we're doing now, which is this platform for player engagement. But there has been a gap in the market for this kind of making operational processes more streamlined. And by doing that, you can do a lot more as an organization with a tighter team. And this is something that is like very relevant at this time, especially since there's been so much regulation, and the big actors in the market, they've really been feeling the pain of that your profit margins has been shrinking because you're paying more taxes. And did we just get the bonus, by the way? That is like sick.
Finish your point first, so then we can continue.
Yeah, exactly. Are we going to do this first? Like, we got to see.
It's spinning already. Okay. Yeah. Here we go.
I'm going to restart that. I'll tell you everything again, but this is funny.
Okay.
Right?
So it's spinning at the moment. So
you got all the guys in as well. It's like the yellow monkeys there. It's like really
the yellow monkeys, that's what we want.
No, you need the green ones. That's
the green monkeys is what we want.
Is a good one, and the blue one is a good one.
Okay. So let's see. That's so amazing. This is absolutely
bringing some fuel to the table right now, so we can last the full hour, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we're not gonna
like,
end
this is like you have to spend some time warming up the machine before you start.
Exactly. what was the charity called? Women in Malta.
Women for Women in Malta.
Women for Women in Malta. So it's looking good at the moment for the charity.
It's a good start. I mean, it's not like a massive win, is it? Like, but it's all right. All right.
But how much did we win, Martin? Can you see?
It's 10 euros, 32 cents or something like that. That's good. Okay, all right, we topped up a bit to the base balance now, but keep it going, right?
1,032. Okay, good. How much do we have now, Martin?
146. So you're plus 2 euro.
146. Okay, we're at 146 euro. Okay, so yeah, good start to the podcast. In other words, but we entered this right in the middle of a point that you were discussing.
I know. I was just coming to my point.
Yeah, the digital transformation.
In very short, it's talking about operational processes that are being streamlined, and when you apply that to iGaming in particular, it's a lot like the thing that is closest to mind is obviously automation. But it's everything around processes. Okay, so you can look at your organization and you can say like, all right, I'm employing a lot of people to do stuff, but are you looking into whether the work process is efficient, and more importantly, are you innovating? Are you moving somewhere? Are you improving what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, or are you fighting the clock? And we're jumping straight into kind of the in-depth here now, but one of the operational processes that we have focused on is obviously the CRM aspect of your business in how you communicate and engage with your players. And here has been like an explosion over so many years. So you kind of have the start of it where capabilities, it was all capabilities. You started sending emails, and then you wanted to start sending SMSs, and then you wanted to send push notifications, and then you wanted to add new type of bonuses, and then you were just growing this backlog of different things that you could do on your brand. But I don't think at the time too many people were too worried about, okay, but what does this actually mean from a business management perspective? So you're sending an email with one platform potentially, and you're sending an SMS with another platform, and you're having and suddenly you've created this like massive mountain of operational work that has to be done in order to just do basic campaigns. And at the same time, the operators have like been very good at coming up with creative new promotions and stuff that they want to run. And yet again, you're adding kind of maybe variations in what type of promotions, and then on top of that, you add segmentations. You want to treat your players in a more personal way. So suddenly it becomes like a simple equation. It's like you have work times work times work times work, and then it's just like piles of resources that you need to fill. And what has been forgotten in that is like, or forgotten, at least not like managed properly. I think it's a huge operational debt that the operators have today, is like looking at the process. Okay, how are all of these different systems communicating with each other? How am I setting up? Like, how does it actually work to set up a campaign end to end? How do I look at the data that is coming in from one system in relation to the other system, and how do you use these things? And all the way to like rewards, which is maybe a little bit more close to heart, which is something that you usually develop internally, which is a bonus platform and stuff like that. How am I managing crediting bonuses, and how is all of that working? And that was just the beginning, because, you know, even if you had no regulation whatsoever, because I mean, the business was quite different a couple of years ago. We underwent, like, it was kind of 2017, I think, was, or let's say 2018 was quite a defining year, I think, for at least for Europe as a landscape. Because you had a lot of stuff going on in UKGC. You had the brink, like everything was starting towards what was happening in Sweden. You had Denmark. You had like loads of regulated markets, and they are suddenly going to tell you as well now, you know, you're not allowed to do X, Y, and Z. You need to be, you actually need to be responsible and be accountable as an operator in terms of who are you promoting your offers to, what's the structure of your offers, and how does that work? So all of that equation of everything that you were doing, suddenly you had another mathematical kind of times, you know, X in work, and it gets like it's not sustainable.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it sounds a little bit like you're saying, adding all these layers on top of each other. Operationally, it creates just far too complex processes, and maybe you're using too many systems that aren't communicating with each other, so to say. Is that a fair way to say? And then it builds up.
And then on top of that, like, it's important to remember that even when you worked with one channel, okay, so back in the days when you did very simple promotions, simple segmentations, already then the platforms that you were working with were not very user friendly. So like it was already quite a time-intensive kind of process in order to get something over to the customer. And right now we're still talking about maintaining something that was like how we worked yesterday, right? How do we do stuff yesterday, and how do we do that in a more efficient way? Like now we need to start talking about, okay, I also have this expectation of moving my business to the future, right? Which is that we're supposed to be more personal, and we're supposed to be much more tailored in our experience and create like stuff like that. So creates another dimension to it now as well.
Yeah, and this is a little bit what I want to come into, because something I heard you say in a talk recently, that I think not only for gaming, but it should resonate with most industries in general, is that you had your point where you said the kind of like consistent optimization should be the priority, rather than this mindset of getting the individual tasks done or getting the job done. I think that's what you said. Like, that is kind of the mindset that most organizations, or even like pretty much all organizations, are stuck in. And your mindset is much more focused on this consistent optimization of the workflow. Because like you're saying, you're constantly adding things to the processes, and you want to bring brands live quicker. You want to optimize payments. Then you have the curveball of the regulation and all of these things. But the mindset is still on a task-to-task basis. Can you talk like what do you mean more about this?
It's I'll try to repackage what you said, because I'm 100% behind that. It's like when you're improving something, and this is why I have.
Sorry. Oh, there was not a bonus one. Sorry, I interrupted. I got excited.
Oh my God, I missed it. I was thinking, so I didn't even see the screen. No, but you're right on the point here. It's like, if you keep I think the most easy way to resonate with like what you're talking about is that if you remember when you worked in Betsson or similar companies in the past, and you're running a campaign calendar, okay, like everyone has, a CRM agenda or a calendar, which is like, okay, what is everyone going to receive at certain times during the week and payday and whatnot. I think most operators in the past, and still few of them still do, is a little bit stuck in that mentality of planning month by month, and they want to re-innovate every time. They want to come up with a new campaign calendar for the next month because it's more exciting to talk about new events and stuff like that. I think it's an easy way to kind of resonate with, right? However, if you're going to ever understand what works and what doesn't work in what you're doing, you need to be consistent. And you need to kind of switch one plug at a time and see what happens, right? So what we are encouraging, when we're working with our clients and our partners, is that you have to put a foundation in place, and we always guide to do that with automation. But you put that foundation in place, and then you will have to see and do performance insights on pretty much every individual activity that you're running to each segment, and then you need to see, okay, this one is underperforming. I'm going to switch that one out for something else as an alternative, and then you have to see, if that is performing better to what you did previously. That's like a scientific evolution. Yeah. If you keep re-innovating and keep just doing new type of campaigns and being super that the prize is to come up with the most complex promotion every time, you're never going to learn anything. You're never going to take your business to the next level. You've got to have this, you have to take it in, have that consistent, evolution, exactly like you said. And I think that's maybe the aspect that is most people would resonate most with. I think it's it's a bit scary to suddenly say, no, but we've always been changing our campaigns on a month-to-month basis. That's how we work, right? We want to have something fresh for the players. Well, you can still achieve a degree of that in the type of campaigns you're doing, but you can still swap out games, or you can swap out the experience in other ways. So no, 100%. And that's not the first thing that you focus on as a brand. I would say I usually talk about a 5-step process in kind of how I approach it, just to get sanity into how to prioritize. But it's still one of the first things that you would focus on.
Yeah. So this 5-step process that you mentioned, can you talk a little bit? What does that mean? And in principle, how what would be a typical process operationally that isn't efficient for a typical operator, and how do they solve it, for example?
Well, there's 2 aspects to it. I mean, when we're looking at how to healthy be innovative and consistently up your game, there is an aspect of that, which means that the first thing, at least this is what I advocate, is the first thing that needs to happen is that you need to review your entire process and see what it looks like, right? So that you understand all of the pain points that you're traveling through as an operational team. Once you've highlighted that, you need to resolve those. You just need to get rid of it, right? You need to identify what can be more lean in that organization. And then you need to, when you've done that and you've freed up time so that you have some time over, is the next thing that you need to do, which is step number 2, is automation. So you need to start automating what you have done manually in the past, and you need to start getting that kind of going. So whatever you think is working at the moment, use that as a foundation for automation. That's kind of when you reach that step, that's when you can start. That's when the foundation comes into play. So in step 2, you kind of come to a foundation. That's when you go to step 3, and that's the scientific evolution. You start looking at these individual automated activities or life cycles, and you look at what works and what doesn't work. And then you keep switching one by one. So you're having a completely different dynamic in your team. You're sitting as a CRM team, you're looking at data, and you're saying, all right, our reactivation numbers are not that strong last month. What happened? Okay, let's see if we can come up with some more creative solutions in terms of dealing with our reactivation, maybe changing our segmentation model or trying a different type of campaign or doing something like that. And then you try something new, you create a version of that, and then you see okay, is that outperforming what we did in the past? And this is leading you to that you're consistently going to evolve your offering, which is really good. And then the next things are obviously going into the fun parts, which I think if you haven't got the basics right, I don't think you should it's not necessarily the first focus you have, but machine learning, right? That's ultimately it's going to take that leap, the next leap, where you can be much, much more smart in the decision-making process. And you don't need to rely at machine learning is making all the decision, replacing the creative process in the team or your knowledge in the team. It's more you use machine learning to support your decisions and say okay, can we use machine learning to then make to do better segmentation or provide a better offer, for example.
Yeah. It's machine learning is something I'd like to get into too, as a bit of an AI enthusiast. But first, before that, I want to ask you as well. So, generally, like when you categorize people in general, you have some people who are very creative. It's like a scale, right? Some people are more creative, and some people are very orderly. So it's like you're either or on this type of scale. And what we're talking about now is a very like orderly way of creating processes in an organization to constantly optimize. But would you say that there's a danger in focus so much on processes that the creative part can take damage?
No, I think it's honestly, this is really fun that you bring this up, because when it comes to the creative process, this is what you want to make time for, right? The process and automation and everything that you're doing is to free up time to be more creative. I mean, that's the whole aspect, because this is actually the thing that we are not so good at when it comes to machine learning yet, is being creative. So it's much better. Like when we're developing products right now, we're doing exactly that. We're looking at like kind of creating efficiency and then creating automation. We free up time so that the team can focus specifically on being creative. Like that's what you need. Your future CRM team is going to be, you're going to have a chunk of really creative people who's going to come up with different suggested stuff. There is no boundaries to what you can do. You will then feed this into an engine, which is picking and trying different options to players, right? So what I usually say is that you need to separate the execution and the distribution process. Okay, so the distribution process needs to be automated, so you're not involved in that. I want to bring that into it's actually a really important thing when we're talking about it. But when we're looking at campaign execution and stuff like that, and CRM in general, there is like this aspect of the fact that you always have a deadline. That's the biggest problem that you have as a team, is that you always have to get a certain amount of work done by a certain date, right? Your creative mind, your creative window has to fit within the time that you have to promote this offer, right? Would you agree to that? I mean, then, so what you have to do, if you really and truly want to be creative and break out of that bubble, you need to separate yourself from the distribution process. So if you can use automation to make sure that when distribution, and when I'm talking about distribution, I mean when things are sent to players, right? So like when is the campaign going out, or these type of aspects. So if you take that aside and you automate that process, then you can focus 110% on or 100% on being creative. And then whatever product that you develop out of that creative process goes into the distribution process. And then you can let that automated flow send the campaigns and do and try stuff. And then the only thing you get back is a report that says, well, this didn't work and this worked, right? We need to come up with more of these stuff, because that's where we're failing right now.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, if I like simplify this for myself and in my own life, I have like a similar way of looking at it, just from a life perspective, and that's very similar to that. It's I try to be as organized as I can in my life, because there's a lot of craziness, obviously, operating a company, trying to have time for training and all these things. But I try to optimize everything that I do so that I can increase my time to be spontaneous. So it's the similar thing, right? You want to like package all the things that you have to do in a very efficient way, so that you can free up space in your head to then be creative or be spontaneous or whatever.
I completely agree. Like I live by the same notes. I play by the same piano, because the thing is, like, I can't just decide that on Monday between like 8 o'clock in the morning and 12 o'clock at noon, that's when I'm going to come up with the next product for Fast Track. It's not like how it works. You gotta just have enough free time to be able to use that for whatever creativity you have. I have a big struggle with deadlines in general. I don't like it. Like sometimes I obviously have partners in this business. Like it's me and Chris and Hans, right? And Chris usually pushes me quite hard that we need to do this presentation at whatnot, and it's like you have an iGaming next or something, and we are planning towards that. It's like that. What makes me nervous is that I'm not going to find the creativity to like put down what I'm going to talk about. It's not that I don't know what I'm talking about. I want to talk about, but structuring that in a pack is like, that's a creative process, right? And then that kind of stuff is like, I don't function well with that. It's more like I want to prepare the packs and the the innovation and creativity and all of that stuff, that needs to be locked in. Then we can start booking stuff. You know what I mean? So I'm like kind of reversing that myself as well.
Yeah, but that's why they say like the creative people they start companies like entrepreneurs, and then orderly people they run them. Because that when you come to a point in your organization when you're big enough, the structure and these processes has to come first, so to say, because that then gives you the opportunity to continue to be creative.
I would argue though, like if you look at my organization in particular, I have several of entrepreneurs inside the organization who are so clearly like and they have the mandate as well with Fast Track in order to say like, okay, they just have this ambition, like they have great ideas and they got stuff going on, but they are still quite orderly as well. They still have structure, I really appreciate structure. I'm a really structured person myself. I really like to be organized, but to a degree, I would challenge you on that part, but it's
okay. It's not in any case, and it's not black and white either, right? Like you can have both parts where you can be both orderly and creative as well. Like you're somewhere down the middle. I usually ask that in the work interviews. Like, how do you see yourself? Like more creative or more orderly? Because some roles they fit more orderly people, and some roles fit creative people. But like in the like, as you grow your organization and as you try to scale your organization, implementing these processes becomes much more important, but also much more difficult, I would imagine, in the sense that whenever there's a new process, you have a bigger and bigger team that needs to understand and adapt themselves to this process. Like, how like what are the challenges there as you grow and these processes become more and more complex, let's say, or more and more important to continue to scale your business?
No, but this is something that I've been. I think like it gave me so much, like working with some of the larger operators at the time. Kind of Betsson and Betfair back in the day. And so on. I learned and picked up so many tricks and stuff when it comes to organization and challenges in organizations. One of the first things that comes to mind when we're talking about this is that you gotta let you can't just confuse everyone and throw out a curveball like from the middle of nowhere and say that we're gonna look at new processes and stuff, so that everyone is just looking at like, okay, well, what's the process now then? Like, and then suddenly like feeling uncomfortable within their own environment, because maybe if you have a work process, I don't know what we should take as let's say that you have a process around how you run operations, like as an example, right? And then suddenly you want to reinvent that and you want to come up with a new suggested process. I think it's very important that you have very consciously taken the people who's going to be involved in that kind of project in defining what the new process is going to look like, that they go into a different room and they're not confusing what they're doing right now. And when they go into that room, they are creative and they come up with and looking at all the different aspects. When they step out of that room, they go into the old process again until the process has been signed off and that you're ready to implement it. Because the worst thing that can happen is that you have half your team is then wondering, but you discussed on a meeting that we were going to do this now or do that or do this. It's like, well, maybe it has not been solidified yet. Maybe it has not been thought through yet. Sometimes you just have to have that. You have to complete that process before you implement a new process. You know what I mean? So I have, when you look at Fast Track, for example, one thing that is continuously being improved as a process is our development process. Okay, so you're looking at how we act as developers, how we workshop requirements, how we do implementation, how we do code review, how do we do security development, like in security checks, how the integration testing is working, how do we sign off, how do we get platform releases into production. This is not something you grow over a day. You start on being a quite small company. And when you're a small company, you're working with your process on a day-to-day basis because you might have 2-3 people who are consistently next to each other and working, right? In our case right now, when you're talking about 15-20 people in a tech team, then we are consistently moving that forward. But we have essentially a team that is working. That it's mostly our tech teams, or if it's someone that has highlighted a problem, that person would lead that transformation. So as soon as we have a problem, if we have an incident that we haven't tackled in the past, or if we have something happening or even an employee saying that this process is inefficient, then we create a workforce that is then focusing on resolving that solution and that problem. And when they have a solution to that, then it's presented to the whole team and implemented. So it's like all of those different aspects are being thought about. What's going to happen when I implement this process? How does it change people's reality? Blah, blah, blah. All of that needs to be done. so that we can go with certainty and we can say like, no, this is going to work. Trust us. Like, let's move with this red. And I love that kind of aspect, because that's what improves you, right? Are we in the bonus again?
We are in the bonus.
This is sick.
We're in the bonus. Come on.
Shit.
Let's see. Our tech.
We're on 138 euros. If you can have a big...
138. Come on. All right. Let's see how it goes here.
Yeah. Now we need a red in the middle. No. Yeah. I'm out of sync in terms of my.
Yeah. I'm out.
It's hard to build on.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, we aren't doing super well so far, I think. I can't see that. Can you see how much we have won so far?
138 euros. This is not the best bonus round in the world. I say that after this one, we should change game.
Yeah, we should. Our tech, our lovely tech versus Martin is on the toilet at the moment, so we have to wait a little bit. And that means that we have to. So I'm going to disappear for 1 second here to continue the click. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, we're back into the normal spin. So in a couple of minutes we'll try. Okay, here we go. Martin is back. So which game shall we?
No, I want to stick to the nostalgic line, because it's like really fun. You know, you and I talking, and then so we should play Jack and the Beanstalk. Like
Jack and the Beanstalk.
Yeah.
It's all in on Netten today. Okay, so Martin, search for Jack and the Beanstalk, please. And we'll start the second round. And how much money do we have, Martin?
We're like plus minus zero almost, right?
What did you say, Martin?
141 and 60.
141 and 50 for women. That's come on now. Now it's Jack and Beanstalk going here, round 2. Okay, so Martin, let's make sure that we don't bet too high here again, because we don't want to lose.
Exactly.
Okay,
this is
start out the spin. We had absolute nostalgic trip today.
I know.
Simon. I love this actually.
It's like you can't forget the old games. You know, they're like. No. And this is just to tell you a little bit about this game. So
yes.
Now it's all about warming up the slot, right? So we want to see a lot of chests very early on. If we're going 10, 15 spins without any chests showing on the screen, we might as well swap game, because it's not going to give.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but apart from that, it's pretty much a guaranteed win.
Apart from that, yeah. So we know what we're doing here in this charity slot tournament. We are guaranteeing, more or less guaranteeing that we'll have some nice profits today.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how they work. I remember back in the day, we used to have like gatherings at home, like before we went out. We used to put on the TV screen. We used to put a slot machine like Gonzo's Quest, and then it would be playing during this gathering of people. And whenever we were supposed to go out, then we gathered the money that we had left, and that's what we would use for drinks and stuff like that. So, yeah, nostalgic. Brilliant. So Simon, just moving forward. So we talk a lot about like continuous optimization and these things, and that leads into the topic of AI in general, which is obviously it seems almost like the end game is kind of to automate as much processes as you possibly can, right? Like that seems like a pretty reasonable thing to do. Like things that shouldn't be done by a human, that can be done by a machine equally or much better and much faster. First of all, should definitely it's definitely a goal for an organization. So can you talk a little bit first, because AI at the moment is very hyped. You know, all organizations wants to talk about AI and how they work with AI and so forth, but not always this hype lives up to the point where it should, specifically like when we talk about like self-driving cars and stuff like that, which Elon Musk promotes is like a couple of years away, but the features are actually very rudimentary still at this stage, and the actual leading AI scientists are saying that as a real safe-driving car might be like 30 years away, not like 2 years away, as we're getting the impression of sometimes.
Yeah. Okay.
And similarly in gaming, you hear the word machine learning, which is an arm of AI, get thrown around a lot. We've seen some practical implications, particularly in like the support errands that are being taken over by machine learning algorithms and so forth. But can you talk a little bit of what are some of the practical implications right now in gaming, specifically on an operational level, but in other areas as well, if you have examples. And then secondly, where are we heading with machine learning and AI within gaming? What is the future?
Okay. Quite a
big topic.
But it's good. It's good. Like, first of all, what you said in the beginning, I'm also very passionate about machine learning and what we can do with it, right? And I love the fact that the community is really passionate about it as well, because that opens up like really cool discussions. So number one, in terms of what do you call it, like aspiration, creativity, in terms of coming up with ideas on what you can do with machine learning, I think the community is super good. Like, the industry is super good at coming up with ideas. I think there is like so much going on that front. However, the biggest obstacle has been, again, like when you create a capability that is completely, like, machine learning is like more important than ever, is that you have all of your ducks in a row when it comes to data, right? Because if you have, let's say that we want to apply machine learning towards the customer, and we want to use that in some form of segmentation or in terms of something like that in order to make better decisions. I mean, the access for that as a channel, or as a product, in order to have access to all of that data is key. And then also whatever it outputs, it's key that it's ordered, whatever recommendations it's passing or whatever outcome it's reaching, that it's passed back to the system that you're working with, right? So that's the same issue again, right? If you haven't got the infrastructure and working inside an ecosystem which allows you to enable machine learning as a channel, it would probably be very difficult to do, and you will probably lose interest in it because it becomes very, very tough. And the first thing that needs to be done is the central orchestration. So if you can, it depends obviously what you're looking at, and that's why these single channels becomes, the first thing that they tackle. Chats. Okay, the chat engine, live chat engine, and bots around like talking and stuff like that. It's very easy and manageable, and that's why people approach it. They say that, okay, my application over here, who's going to be a bot, has access to all of the conversations that has happened with customers. Good, then I can innovate within that frame, right? But the actual stuff, when it becomes juicy, when it becomes like really cool with machine learning, is when it's more borderless. When you can move across these different borders and say, all right, what is the next best action, to promote a player, for example? What would be the best next thing to do towards this player? That's an interesting one, for example, so that you can shift campaigns, or you can stay relevant by saying that this player would adhere to this type of offer more than this one, for example. And when you're looking at segmentation models, it's also something that is like, you can look at, if you have all of that data in one place, you can look at, okay, what is the future predicted behavior supposed to be like in terms of maybe very early life? You will be able to identify that has the traits of a more like maybe valuable customer for you as a brand, or that they have certain interests, so that you can promote like the relevant sport in a sports book, or you can promote like the relevant type of games in a casino, or whatever it might be, to drive that entertainment bar up. But I mean, we have been very passionate in Fast Track is about resolving this. It's this like capability aspect, so that you can use machine learning, you can develop models, and then you can action them. So that we create so we are doing a brand new product right now, which is called FTML, which we are just in the brink of launching. And it's like a super, super cool like initiative, which is essentially creating more or less like a plug and play product in order to access machine learning. It's like something very, for many, complicated being broken down into something very basic for people to understand. I don't know. I was going in and out a little bit of different buckets there, but
no, it makes sense. But I'd like to hear a little bit. So this makes sense. What you're saying. Where are we now in this process? At what part in this process are most operators at the moment being able to collect and analyze this data? Or is this more kind of like you see this as the next chapter?
No, but I mean, it's a little bit. I think so. You have the absolute vast majority of operators. They are doing nothing or close to nothing in this space at the moment. We just got the bonus, by the way. And I saw so many chests in the beginning, so I was like, it's coming anytime. It's coming.
It had to come. Yeah. Okay, let's see now. So Martin,
we got
spin the wheel
before we carry on here now.
Yeah.
So now it's about collecting keys, right?
Keys we want. Okay.
Keys on the last reel. And it seems to be going great.
There we go. That's the key. There we got one. So those are so the keys are.
Yeah, the keys unlock new kind of wild symbols.
Okay.
Wild is kind of beanstalk, so we get respins for free, right?
Okay, we get new respin and an extra features as well.
No, exactly. So I mean,
but we aren't winning anything.
No, I mean, it's like that's a good thing, right? Because now we have like another 3 sprints or something like that without something.
So we have 4 free spins left.
We gotta get more keys. We're not gonna go anywhere without keys. Okay, 1 key. See, now we have another wild symbol. Great.
So okay. So we have still 4 free spins.
So now we need a wild. Like
we need a wild, 3 free spins.
There we go. So you see, now we get the double wild.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay, 3 free spins still. Okay,
it would have been like epic if we could actually hit like a really big win.
Yeah, I know this. I mean, women for women. I mean, this is the okay. So 1 free spin left.
There we go. Okay, now we got now spins. Yeah. So now
still 1.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
Yeah.
Let's see. So we still have. Okay. Now we're sticking up. Now we have a good win here. 347 points. Oh, we got another key as well.
Yeah, but we need 2 more because it's like 3. They are in 3.
Oh.
Okay, so yeah.
Last one.
Yeah. No. Unfortunately.
No. So 377 coins we got.
Plus. You know what? We're plus, so we should be happy.
We're plus. How much do we have, Martin? Now right now?
150
euro. We are plus €5 so far in the podcast. So we're heading towards the very end there as well.
So I'm happy. It's good.
Yeah. This is great. We are plus 5 women for women. We are having a good day so far here in the podcast. Having fun, good conversation, and enjoying the slots at the same time. It can't get much better than that, can it?
And now we're talking about machine learning, so that's fun, right?
Exactly. Back to machine learning. So continue on your point. Yes.
No, but we were talking about like how far has the operators come in the market, right? And how advanced are they? And I would say, again, I'm coming back to it. Like the vast majority is not doing that much. Many of them are exploring it, but there is still like kind of I think if you're looking into the bigger operators, like the larger ones, you have two aspects. You have the large ones, and then you have kind of new starting ones that are proficient already from the start because they have these people who know this. If you're looking at the kind of the tier 1 operators, tier 1 and tier 2s, they typically have internal data scientist teams today that are working and applying machine learning in one or multiple aspects, which is good. So they have started that process. And I can tell you, like, their biggest issue right now is that they are developing great things, but it's very difficult for them to get it into, make it actionable. Okay, so you develop this insight and you have it available, but then making it actionable and making it accessible for the teams to actually do something with it. That's a bit more tricky, so to say. But I would say it's definitely, my view is that the larger operators have most of them, or all of them, I would say, in one capacity or another, have the resource internally that are looking at this. And some of them have developed some basic models. People tend to start with churn prevention models and stuff like that in order to see like activity levels and stuff like that. Or in the very early days, it was very hyped to do game recommendations. I think that's kind of been paused more or less. Like that's not so key right now. But we are working with a lot of partners right now that are working with Fast Track, and they've come quite a long way. So they both have machine learning in terms of determining the segmentation, in terms of the future prediction of the behavior of the players, churn prediction, and also the next best action type of stuff. So there is definitely movement on it, but generally there is not that many that is approaching it. And that's why I think like this is what we can add as value to the community, right? It's like Fast Track is going to develop a product that is going to make that accessible and make it actionable for all the teams. So it's going to come like kind of in 2 splits. That's how we look at it. We're creating the optimal environment for a data scientist, like the Photoshop for a designer, okay, or the old like a Sketch today,
exactly.
Like a Sketch for a designer. We're creating that for the data scientist so that they can have an environment which is super cool to develop machine learning models and deploy them. So it's both kind of doing that design, and it's also doing the kind of the build and the distribution. Now, and then we also have an aspect of the platform, which is that everything that we have learned as Fast Track, we're going to give for free. So whatever models that we have identified and built using this platform is going to be like a plug and play. So you can actually go through it. You can be any sort of casino manager or CRM manager or responsible gaming person even, you can go in and enable these type of models and start running them on your own brand. So we have both those aspects into it. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, and I guess this is the power of using kind of a platform like FastTrack. Is the fact that to build and implement this type of function as an operator, you need to have people. You need to have like a machine learning team almost that is in the forefront of understanding machine learning, and you need to have all these various teams to understand and how to develop the right functions and to stay ahead. But then that leads into the question. And so, like larger organizations, like the massive ones, like the Bet365s, the Ladbrokes, the Flutters, and all of these, like they traditionally build their own platform, obviously internally, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that they build everything internally. Like they would still use, Slack, for example, or as a communications tool within the organization and so forth. How do you see the future in general? Like, is it sustainable for these organizations to continue to build their own platforms, or will they come to a point, because that isn't what they are specialized on as an organization, that they will continue to lag behind other organizations that use, for example, FastTrack?
No, for me it's very clear. I mean, I understand that there is a certain. This is definitely something that would be considered as an aspect when you're looking at these type of platforms in the market. But you got to remember that in order to actually achieve anything within both the stuff that we're doing in real-time data consolidation, or the stuff that we're doing in CRM, or the stuff that we're going to look at in machine learning, the vast majority about it is to set up infrastructure for an organization to be able to tackle a certain problem. Okay, the actual secret sauce that you want to develop as an operator, that comes to what you do with the platform, right? So for me, it's like really clear cut. There is absolutely no advantage to try to reinvent the wheel when it's available in front of you. What you should do is like essentially make sure that you use that to the greatest potential. And I mean, platforms has, I think like we're coming to a stage right now. There's not been an alternative in the market for an operator to look at these things, okay? So that's therefore, when you've been serious about running in this direction and machine learning and all of those aspects, you built your internal stuff. Because there's not been anything in the market that would be able to offer anything towards the iGaming community that works. But then when it is something, when that's available, you would take a hard, good look and say like, okay, am I actually getting so much more value from building this internally than I am licensing this externally, right? And most companies today, they would be using, I mean, you don't build your own meeting hardware or like Atlassian products for, or like we gotta promote people to be experts at what they do, right? So if you have a development team, you want them to spend time developing. You want to give them the best and most optimal platform for them to be developers and be able to focus on that. If they suddenly become, that administration becomes the thing that they're spending 50% of their time on, it's not like going to add more value to you as an organization, right? The same goes for like if you're looking at operational teams or anything like that, like CRM people. Like we got to let them be creative. We need to let them look at, be creative and come up with creative suggestions on how to solve problems, not admin. I mean, it's completely backwards. And when it comes to data science, I can guarantee you right now, that's exactly what it looks like. The data scientists that I speak to, they are very, very few of them are actually data scientists on a more than 50% of their time. They are more kind of sorting out BI issues or setting up like, servers in order to train stuff, or, it's like, we need to fix that. It's like, that's like a big problem, I would say. So I'm like, I see absolutely no reason why you would build this type of capacity internally. And I mean, even though FastTrack is first with these things right now, I'm 100% certain there's going to be more alternatives at some point, because that's how it works, right? But right now, we just want to continue to innovate and run and do better things, right?
Yeah, I mean, as an observation of the iGaming industry in general, I think this is typical a bit for an industry that is so young. the iGaming industry has only been there for tops 20 years or so. And in any young industry, it takes time to find itself, and to mature. And as the industry matures, then you see much more processes being implemented, and rather than having to figure everything out from scratch as you work, so to say. And I mean, look at the automobile industry as an example. The industry that's been there for 120 years, and everything is about efficiency within that industry. When you buy a Toyota, as I have, the steering wheel of this Toyota is not made by Toyota. No, and there's a reason for that, right?
Because they're pick what you're going to be good at. What are you going to focus on, right?
Exactly, and the pointer is like, as an organization, as Toyota, they have an alternative. They have two alternatives, which is either they create the steering wheel themselves and they produce it themselves, or they use a supplier who have figured out this way how to make the steering wheel cheaper than they can, and being able to distribute it to the cars cheaper than Toyota can. Exactly. And that obviously takes away a layer they don't have to have as big teams, for example. They can just order these steering wheels. They don't have to worry too much other than them being delivered on time, and that the cost goes down, for example. So as time goes on, that industry have found more and more ways how to become more efficient, and suppliers around the industry are figuring out more and more ways how they can improve the product for the company that then sells the cars. And similarly in the iGaming industry, I mean, we've been in the industry for a long time, Simon, and back in the day, in the 2010s, in the beginning, the operators did a lot internally. Almost everything internally.
There was no alternative at that point, right?
Exactly, because there weren't any alternatives, right? And as time goes on, now we see more and more suppliers like Fast Track popping up and being able to offer better and better solutions. I mean, I spoke another day to another company called Regularly, who have figured out just the optimal way how to create a registration process, for example. Whereas that would be something, the registration flow is something that the operators have always done internally before. Now they potentially don't have to think about that anymore. And similarly, you as Fast Track, the only thing you have to think about is how to optimize your CRM tool to make it the absolute best it can be. And you don't have to think about 20 other things in your organization at the same time. And that's why these type of tools are obviously the future, because you have that capacity to just optimize the one tool that you are working on, basically.
No, exactly. And you're absolutely right. And there is so much been popping up. I think it started maybe a little bit before 2010, because I remember when I worked at Betfair, there was like a couple of platforms that already then started aggregating content. Like that was like the big thing, right? Is you need more casino games. And instead of integrating every single casino supplier, kind of in terms of producing games, like we have created an ecosystem right now where a 3-person development team that is like a startup is able to reach out with a game. I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, that's really good, and they can develop one game, and that one game can make it into any of the operators through the aggregators, right? Which is great. I mean, that's exactly how it's supposed to be. And similarly, like what we are doing, or similar platforms, like we build an environment where we plug in other platforms on top of Fast Track, right? And you have like quite recently, for example, gamification and these things that people are like Blue Ribbon, for example, developed like a really good gamification tool where you can do jackpots on your site, which are built by the operator, and stuff like that becomes more accessible, right? And there's no reason for you to build everything from scratch. But back then, there was no option. There was nothing available in order to solve that problem.
Yeah. So it's cool to see kind of the evolution ahead, that more and more suppliers are coming in and taking a problem and just doing it 10 times better than the operator would do it in-house. Interactive is another great example of that with player retention. And I remember when we worked at Betsson and player retention was done in-house. And then I remember actually Interactive coming in and taking over for and Interactive, and all of a sudden the reactivation was 10 times better just by plugging in this organization. And again, like you see this evolution happening from one problem to another. And once you have solved something, you'll never go back to doing it in-house.
Interactive is a great example of that, right? You have they're running an organization that is absolute specialists at running, outbound, right? And they have grown to be the best at it, and that's why they're growing as a business. They're domain experts, they're niche, they have a platform that is suitable for that stuff. I mean, it doesn't make sense for an operator in the iGaming industry to like be specialists in outbound calling. That's not core, Like,
exactly.
It's obviously you want to maintain relationships with your customers, and you can use these means to do that. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, there's so many examples. I mean, so to start wrapping things up today, before we stop the slot machine that we have spinning here. By the way, how much money do we have now?
Now it's down a bit, right?
Was it 130?
138.75 we have now.
130. Okay. We give it a minute or two here. So the last question for you today, Simon, is where is all of this heading? What is kind of the end goal especially for the consumer point of view?
No, but we're gonna end up in a place. I think the aspiration is not too far along right now. I think every player, the ultimate goal is like, when you're selling entertainment, it is to tailor that completely towards that experience of every single individual, right? So it needs to be so personal, and that's where we're gonna end up. It's gonna be a place where it's incredibly personal experience. And I mean, it's all about, like, for operators right now, it's a tough space, and share of wallet is what it's all about. It's share of time and share of wallet, just like you're competing with everything else in entertainment, right? And it's about staying relevant. So it's gonna be, the organizations are gonna find ways to develop their central platforms and their ways of working in creating an incredibly personal experience. I think that's where it's heading.
A unique experience to each player, basically.
It's not like missing any content. So we have enough content. So it's about taking that content and then making it more fun.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Shall we do another, let's say, 6 spins before we finish this today?
Yeah.
So let's see. Okay, we have. Okay, let's see. 1, and then.
So
chess.
How cool would that be? No.
Okay, almost. Okay, spin 3, nothing. Spin 4, nothing. Spin 5, nothing. Okay, last one. Come on, chest. Come on, chest. Oh, we got 2 of them. Okay, you can stop it now, Martin.
Yeah.
Okay, so how much did we finish at?
I don't know if he's stopping.
34.
134 euro to Women for Women in Malta. Courtesy of Simon Fast Track. This has been super fun today. Really outside of the box thing to do, and really nostalgic. So really, thank you for this, Simon.
Oh, it's really cool, and I must say, like, I'm really impressed with what you guys have managed to do with iGaming Next. I think it's a super initiative. It's been one of the better initiatives I've seen in a long time. So it's good.
Thank you. It means a lot, Simon. Obviously, we try our best here and to create some meaningful conversations. And it's really fun today to do some charity in the meantime and including some entertainment too. So, and it's super nice to talk to you as well, Simon, about this. It's a learning experience for myself as well, trying to kind of build a little organization here, and we are facing these type of challenges now. So,
anytime.
Thank you so much for today, Simon.
Thank you, Pierre.
And, wish you all the best. Hope to see you in person soon.
Thank you. You too.